Hi there. I want to welcome all of you here tonight for our live Facebook, Up Close and Personal with Pastor Taffi Dollar. I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited right now. I don't know what to do. So go ahead and let's share and with your friends and your family. And we're just going to invite her to come in because I know you didn't tune in to hear me talk. Well, you did tune in to hear me talk because I had to talk to her. But anyway, so without further ado, here we have Pastor Taffi Dollar.
Hey, hey.
How
Happy
are you?
Monday.
Huh?
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you too. I'm so glad to see you tonight. I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate you for agreeing to do this with me. We'll talk about all of that in just a few minutes. Okay. So I'm just going to jump right in. Are you ready?
Ready as I can be.
I have like 50 questions. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Not quite.
We'll take one at a time.
One at a time. All right. So we see you now, and you're the senior pastor of World Changes Church, many locations. You're a speaker, an author, a mother, a grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
grandmother.
See this here one on the other side.
Can't believe it. Do you remember when? Can you remember? Did you see your life turning out this way?
I can't say I did at all see my life turning out this way. I had gone and thought that I would be in hospital administration, and that was kind of one of my goals, was to be in a place of leadership and management, and really providing a service to people. My background is in human services, mental
And
health.
you answering one of my questions already. Go
I
ahead.
know. And so I had wanted to serve people. That was always something that I wanted to do. And watching my mom be in counseling and mental health and being a professional educator. So I um, really wanted to go in her footsteps and really be more of, I was kind of vacillating between the two. But yeah, I had thought that, what we would be doing was really part time and not the capacity that it's in now. I really thought we would be doing ministry, really more so Creflo would be teaching and doing all those things, on the side. And then I would primarily just have my career doing what I was doing. So I see myself as just kind of still having, I think God has a sense of humor, because I see it as a spiritual hospital where we can still, serve people and those who are needing to be healed and delivered and all that good stuff, is still, a part of what I had envisioned. So, yeah.
That's good. Well, I'm going to ask you this question. You talked about your mom, and I've heard you talk about your mom a lot in the past. Uh, Growing up, what were some of the things that she said or she did that has influenced who you are today?
Oh, wow. I think a whole lot of who I am. And, the saying is, the older you get, the more you become like your mom, the more you act like her, the things that they instilled or that she instilled in me. I hear it in my head. It's like a tape recorder. Don't let people rent space in your mind. And just all of her sayings, nobody knows you're a fool unless you open up your mouth and reveal it to them. So it's kind of like, man, I find myself saying the same things and to my kids. And so, I mean, she has such a big influence on me. My husband tells me all the time that I sound like my mom, and but it's a joy because I really admire, the older that I get, the influence and the positive impact that she had on my life and all my brothers, and just teaching us to work hard and just, be strong and have a good attitude and be grateful and just all the things that I've learned that I can pass on. She never complained, even when she got very ill towards the latter end of her life. She never complained that she was a double amputee, didn't have
Right.
legs, was in a wheelchair, and it was just part of her life. She tried to drive, even in the midst of that. She was still very persistent about
Right.
being independent, even in that place, So it was good. It taught me a lot.
That's good. I remember your mom. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I do know. But when we lived in Atlanta, Evan's babysitter was best friends with your mom, Mama Harriet.
Mm-hmm.
The other, I got connected with your mom through Mama Harriet, and your mom was the sweetest person, and she used to give me good advice, and I loved your mom and miss her as well. So just wanted to say
Yeah, she and Mama Harriet were close friends. They were buddies. They would get together and cook and eat. I'm sure God only knows what, but
what they and what they're doing now up in heaven. I tell you,
yes.
it was sweet. So let's talk about your college years.
Mm-hmm.
When you entered college, you just talked about how your major was, um,
Mental health,
yeah, your
human
major was
services.
mental health when you entered college, and but something happened.
Oh yeah.
You were there.
I was at my first semester I was in North Carolina at North Carolina AT&T.
Mhm.
HBCU shout out. It was kind of a culture shock for me because I had grown up in like a kind of like a mixed suburban type school in North Atlanta. So that was my first time going to an all black college. And it was a great experience. But my parents decided, and they were talking about going through a divorce. So I decided to transfer back to Georgia just to be closer
Right.
to home and help out with my mom. And so, because I knew that when she called me and told me that that was about to take place, I just felt like, okay, I'm 8 hours away, or I really need to be closer just in case she needs me. So I transferred to West Georgia, and at West Georgia, when I first got there, they were talking about this Bible study and things that were happening around campus, and it was in the newspaper. And I went, and back then they had co-ed dorms. I don't know if they still do, but a roommate of mine, she invited me. I went, got born again at the Bible study, and my life was changed there. Gruffalo was teaching, and
You
he
know what? I need to stop you for 1 second because this is
okay.
serious. It's like, how did you get on my notes in my paper? You're taking each one. You're taking each one of my questions and answering them just as I've written them down. So I need to pause for 1 second.
Yes, jump in. I'll just go.
How did you end up at that Bible study?
Well, it was this young lady who was in my dorm. Her name was Allison. And so Allison and I had a mutual friend, Caucasian girl, and our mutual friend's name was Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
Pierre lived on the same floor that I lived on. In fact, he lived a couple doors down. And so we were just kind of friends. We would run into each other and we would just congregate in the hall and talk. And so Allison was talking about the Bible study. She said it was really good. She learned a lot. She thought, it would be something that people would enjoy if they knew more about it and more students. She was just kind of spreading the word and, passing out flyers and stuff and just kind of letting people know on the hall and on the floor that we were on about the Bible study. I forget which night it was, but yeah, it was just something that I heard about in passing. And so I had pretty much done all the partying that I wanted to do. This was around 18, I had done all the boozing, all the
No,
stuff,
not the boozing.
boozing, just everything you do your first year in college that you didn't get a chance to do that you're away from home. And so I kind of had run that gamut. And I just said, hey, she said it was this guy named Creflo. And to myself, I'm thinking, sounds like an old man. This is gonna be really, really boring. somebody named Creflo teaching a Bible study at a college campus. This is weird, but God had put this desire in me, this quest to kind of want to have a personal relationship with him. So I went.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's what I was going to ask you. What kept you going back after you went and saw that he wasn't an old man?
well, I thought it was cute. I
So what?
said, I don't know if the Bible said to him. I was just kind of like, okay, all right. No, seriously. It was several reasons that kept me wanting to go back. I really had a hole in my heart. And you got to understand, I was really not one who had grown up in church, didn't know anything about religion. And so all this was very new to me, very foreign about understanding the Bible, reading the Bible, knowing that the Bible speaks to your life, gives you purpose, can answer questions, because I was always very inquisitive about life and the purpose of life. And so those were things that, unfortunately, my parents, they answered them to the best of their ability, but they just didn't know because they weren't born again. And so I was able to get a sense of peace, because that first time I went, I accepted Christ into my life. And so I
Wow.
knew that I was radically changed. I knew after that, I felt like, I didn't want to party or just things that I would ordinarily do and the desires that I normally had, that they all of a sudden weren't anything that I, was interested in doing anymore.
So it's like Jesus came into your heart, and not only did he come into your heart, but he changed your entire life. Huh?
He moved my furniture all around. And next thing I know, I was going back the following week. I started reading my Bible, got a Bible, started praying, wanting to understand his purpose for my life.
Right, right. And that's good. So now, consequently, you got saved and you're sitting there and you're looking at Pastor Dollar and you're looking at him a little bit more. What happened? So tell us. Okay, let me tell you. So Michelle Obama, former First Lady, she talked about her first date with President Obama. So you care to tell us, what happened there and how did that end up in a first date?
Yeah. Big shout out. That documentary that our former First Lady released is amazing. Really enjoyed that. But yeah, I'm trying to remember our first date. Our first date was, I think, our first summer break. We were just, he was coming out of a relationship, and so was I. I had been engaged. So I was pretty serious about the relationship that I was in. In fact, I had planned on marrying this guy. He was in the service, and Gruffalo was in a pretty serious relationship as well. And so we just were trying to really develop friendship and establish some parameters and some boundaries and stuff.
Right.
And so that was the biggest thing, was just I let him know. I said, listen, the last day of school and when school was about to break, I said, here's my number. And if you want to hang out, give me a call. And so he said, okay, all right. Sounds good. And lo and behold, I think that summer I had some tickets to a football game. It might have been the Falcons game.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I called him. I said, listen, I got some tickets. I want to see if you want to go to this football game. He was like, absolutely. So we went to the game. We started hanging out, talked, and it was just chemistry, connection, attraction, good conversation, friendship, respect.
Right.
Everything I was looking for. And I found it in that conversation with him. And so we just talked for hours and hung out for hours. We didn't have, a lot of resources, obviously. So most of the time we go to breakfast And that would be kind of like instead of going out at night, we would go out to eat in the morning.
Oh, that's fun. That's really interesting. I I think most women remember their first date. I'll just give you a little clue about mine. I met my husband at he came to Atlanta to go to a concert. My aunt was in the choir at the time, and she's asking me if I knew what the church was. And I said, yeah, I know what the church was. Will you take me over there? I don't know how to get there. Got there, saw him, and I was like, oh, okay, who is this right here? Did not know that my god brother was one of his best friends.
Mm.
My god brother introduced me to him, and that was on maybe a Thursday or Friday. And by Monday, my god brother, I believe, had given me his number, and yes, I called him.
Hey.
I called him in Savannah, and came to Savannah to a concert, and we went out to eat at a restaurant, and he fed me some crab stew for the first time, and I fell in love with that. And needless to say, yeah, I think he had me at that. He had me at that.
About that crab stew.
That was our first date.
That was your guys' first date.
Yeah.
So he that findeth a wife. So I mean, what do you think about that? I know some people who are listening are probably thinking, he's supposed to find you. You're not supposed to put yourself out there and all that kind of stuff. But
I don't think it was putting ourselves out there. I don't think it was me putting myself out there. It was just got to let them know kind of interested, and see what happens from there. But at that point, I let him do all of the calling.
That's right.
I said to myself, I was not going to tell him I loved him first. I said, no, those words will not come out of my mouth first. He's going to tell me first.
That's good.
Took him 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
That's the thing. And that's a great point, is the fact that same thing happened with Gruffalo, is the fact that after that, if he wasn't taking the initiative to do things and pursue the friendship, then it wouldn't have developed to where it got to.
That's exactly right.
But I knew he had a lot going on, and he was teaching a Bible study, and I was just amazed that someone that young would be trying to represent Christ and be a positive example on a college campus. Because you understand, with so much going on. I mean, our college was just known for parties, and it was parties going on all the time, every day. And so I was just really intrigued by the fact that someone, former football player, attractive, and yet wanted to teach a Bible study at nighttime instead of just kind of doing what everybody else was doing. I like that.
Right. That's good. That's good. Well, I know that you all have done a TikTok together. Those of you that don't know about TikTok, it's like these little fun videos that people do. And so we're going to play a little TikTok game, if you don't mind. I'm going to ask you a few questions.
TikTok.
Okay. First question is, who plans the better vacations, you or Dr. Dollar?
Better is relative. So if I plan them, I'm going to think it's better because I will enjoy what I plan.
Well, that is true. That is true. Okay, so which vacation do you think you've had the most fun on? The one he planned or the one you planned?
It's interesting because we are learning our ways that are best for us to vacation.
Okay.
Now that our kids are adults and they're older and do their own thing and don't always go with us on vacation. Of course, we, haven't had them on a vacation in a couple of years now, or maybe girls and I will go different places and But when it's he and I and the kids, there's that kind of vacation. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Then when it's he and I, it's ideally his preference, he likes to rest. And see, I am more of a activity type person. So we kind of have to determine the lay of the land before we go and kind of talk about what we want to do, where we're going, and if it's a place where there's really not much to do other than rest. So we determine
Right.
how long we're going to stay. If it's a place that we're going to where there are things to do, we'll talk about that. Um, I'll try to research a little bit. I want to go here, I want to go there, some of the sites. So vacation is requiring us to plan a little bit more now that we are empty nesters. So it's not me nagging him about getting up when he wants to rest,
He wants to rest. He's
and
like,
he's
go,
nagging me
he's like,
about
go
wanting
ahead.
to go back to the room because he's tired of doing stuff. So it's like, okay, let's get on the same page, and we are we're making it work.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right. Who takes the longest to get dressed?
We take about the same amount of time to get dressed. I yeah, I think so.
You give those very political answers.
Yeah, it's like I have friends and they take like an hour. I'm not an hour get dressed kind of girl. I can get dressed in 15, 20 minutes.
Wow.
Um, already in my mind kind of know what I'm going to wear based on what I'm doing, where I'm going. So it's not something that takes me a lot of time. Even when I go into work, I still kind of, before I even get in the shower or in the shower, I'm already figuring out, okay, what I'm going to put on. And it's just pretty quick.
That's because in your mind you're a planner.
Maybe when it comes to clothes, but not only when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't do a lot of planning outside of fashion.
Oh, yes, you have to plan. Have to plan the fashion. Okay, who's the most romantic?
He is really surprising me these days. He's cooking now.
Right.
He's doing our dinner. He does He did my breakfast. He made me some pancakes this past weekend for Mother's Day, Saturday morning. And hey, that's romantic to me.
It is.
You know, I
It
putting
really
out
is.
those lines in the carpet, getting that laundry, putting that stuff in that hamper, and taking it over there and putting it in the machine. Hey, romance me.
I know that's right.
Acts of service, as they say.
That is
Um,
the truth.
so let's see, who is the most romantic? Yeah, I would probably say him.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, so let's switch it up a little bit. During this time, this pandemic time, there are a lot of couples who having to spend a lot more time together. And
Mhm.
I thought about it and I said, what would you advise them to do so that they can come out of this stronger and not matter?
Mm, yeah, that's a good one. To come out of it stronger and not matter.
Mhm.
I think we all have to create a safe space for each other, particularly if it's a confined area and depending on personalities and how important it is to try to navigate and maintain um, a sense of connection, but you're not just like on top of each other in terms of what you're doing and doing things together. But then what really works for us is I'm I can be a real kind of nerdy bookworm type person, so I have to have like my own personal private space, and he knows the importance of that, and that really works for me and works for us. I'm not a big television type person, but
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing is trying to determine, what works for each person, and being truthful about the conversations that you have, what you need in quarantine, um, whether it's alone time or time to watch your own shows, watch things together, do things together, help around the house. Because if not, we as women, we can take on all of these additional roles. We're cooking, we're cleaning, we're picking up, we're um, doing all these extra things, homework, and it's easy to become resentful and feel as if everything is on you and you're
Right.
not getting the help that you need. But I think if you can just be honest and say, hey, I need for you to help out. I need for you to maybe take the kids for the first half of the day and then I do the second half, or um, take some time to just in the evening, maybe, run your bath and just relax and listen to some music, or determine what's going to be most beneficial. But you just
That's
really have to
good.
be honest.
Mhm.
I don't want to have to do the dishes. Can you load the dishwasher up? Can you get up and fix breakfast? Well, I have to do all the meals, and just establish maybe a way to share in the responsibilities, and maybe that'll help, and just yeah.
That's true. Because going into this thing, you realize you're home a whole lot more than you normally are. Those that work outside of the home. So, they may have fixed breakfast, maybe
Mhm.
it's fixing because you were gone. And then you come back home and then there's dinner. Well, during the pandemic, it's like, okay, what are we eating for breakfast? Okay, what are we eating for lunch? What are we eating for dinner? It's a lot of preparation, a lot of thought, and we'll talk about the cooking a little bit later. But you're exactly right to chip in, to ask them or to tell them, I need some help in this area. Do you mind? Do you mind doing that for me? That's
Yeah, we had come out of the conference, and then last week I knew I had to minister, so I said it's not going to be the best week for me to cook. And he said, okay, I understand, because there were things that were going on in the week in preparation that need to be had. And so I had, some help, some meals prepared and meal prep, and things dropped off. And that just kind of worked out for us last week. And so this week is a little different. Like I said, I'm not quite sure. We hadn't figured out how we're going to navigate with the meals this week.
mm-hmm.
And the weeks before that, I pretty much, he and I both were kind of, I was doing more cooking, but he did help out a lot. So yeah, you really just have to kind of discuss it at the top of the week, divide and conquer
That's
what
right.
for the week, and try to make it happen. And
That's
things
right.
come up. They come up all the time, and things change or schedules change, but you just communicate in respect. I think respect is the biggest thing.
That's
And
true.
everybody can navigate from that.
That's true. All right, we're going to switch gears here a little bit. I want to take you back to the first service, the first church service that you all had. Do you remember where it was?
In Kathleen Mitchell Elementary School, in the school cafeteria.
How many people?
Oh gosh, it might have been
Starting
60
out.
people, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You remember what the first service was like?
I do. I remember my assignment, my task that my boyfriend at the time told me to work the what do you call those things? The um, overhead projector,
Okay.
because it was the lyrics to the songs that
Oh
I was
my
supposed to
goodness.
switch out the papers to put on the overhead so that everybody can sing along. So if I
Wow.
remember correctly, I think Ruffalo was playing the piano,
Okay.
and he was playing the piano on one side of the cafeteria, and I was over by the doors. And so I was supposed to listen along based on what he was playing and what he was singing, and just kind of switch it out. But I got so nervous that I froze because I had never been in front of so many people, 60 people, that I couldn't do it. He
You couldn't do
was
it.
motioning to me from the piano, change the slide, change the slide, change the slide. And he's trying to play. Dun, 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 dun. And so I just ignored him, and the slides never got changed. I wanted literally to run off the floor and just quit. That's what I wanted to do, and have everything to end. I'm like, okay, I want this to be done and over with right now.
That is funny. Transparencies. It had a light, right?
Yeah.
It was a transparency. It was clear, and it had typed letters on it. You had to
Right.
You know how I know that? Because I had to do that when I was World Changers for Kenny when he was singing. You all had a transparency. Oh my goodness, yes, I do remember that.
And
I
I
do.
think you had to type up the words onto the transparent.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember how we got them on there, but we got them on there somehow or the other. And
Yeah, you have to turn the page right certain way, and the times have changed.
times have changed. Yes, they have. Now you have teleprompters and screens and all of this good stuff.
I
But
know, pro presenters. I mean, we got all this fancy stuff.
fancy stuff. Now, looking back at those early services, you got married and you started a family. How many children do you have?
We have 5
And how many grands?
and 3 girls, and let's see, Jeremy has 2, Greg has 3, so we have 5.
5 grands.
5 grands.
What do they call you?
Me.
Mimi. I'm trying to figure out what I want my grandparent name to be. I haven't figured that out yet because neither one of mine are married yet. So
Got some time to
yeah, I have some time to think
think
about
it
that.
through. If you want to go English or Spanish or all these other names that are in different languages.
Right. Looking at those. So we just celebrated Mother's Day yesterday. What guidance would you give young mothers, not young mothers, but mothers of young children and mothers of young adults? What advice would you give them?
Oh gosh. You know, it's so funny because I think that social media has changed so many things as relates to parenting. When you were raising kids in the 90s, 2 of my kids were born in the 90s. In fact, all 3 of them, I think, were born in the 90s. So, like I said, they're adults now, and the boys were teenagers when we adopted them. So, they're grown with their families and have kids and of their own. But I would say to not parent out of fear. Ruffalo and I, we were pretty strict and literal about not, and it has its advantages in putting a lot of parameters and barriers and stuff around. Because kind of back then it was like, as a parent, it was your responsibility to make sure that your kids don't get pregnant, particularly with girls and stuff. So that was kind of one of my objectives was, girls, just make sure you're being wise, you're being smart. Don't ruin your life by making a decision that perhaps you'll regret later. And so there was some fear involved with parenting. We were afraid to allow them to listen to secular music. We were afraid to allow them to go to parties. But I could have gotten that fear out of the way. It's like, talk about their influence and recognize that they can influence and not be negatively influenced. They can positively influence, other people, their friends at parties. Everybody doesn't have to. What type of party is it? Who are the friends that they have? Meet
Right.
the parents. What type of music? Watch it, listen to it with them. Go to the concerts with them. Don't be so afraid that the things that are out there, the boogeyman is just gonna mess up their lives, So those are things that I would say don't parent out of fear, but
That's good.
trust that your kids are going to be wise because you put the foundation in them that you want them to have, and you put faith in the fact that they're going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine. And so I would just say close the door on that.
That's good. That's good. So with the young adults, is it more so now that they're grown? Is it more so out of counseling, giving advice, giving them your opinion rather
Mhm.
than telling them what to do? Because some at a certain age, they make their own decisions and they're not going to do what you tell them to do anymore. How did that work with you?
Um, I'm getting my charger. I'm trying to text my husband and see if he's going to bring it to me. My computer's getting a little low. Sorry.
Okay.
Charger to my laptop. Um, if not, if you see me making a mad dash over here, that's why. Okay. I love you, but
Look, he's in the kitchen. Just turn your head and yell.
he won't hear me. He's probably got something going loud, music going loud, or sports, or on a conference call. No telling. But I'm sorry. Repeat the question again.
The question was with when they become young adults, you move from telling them what to do because they reach a certain age and they don't respond well to you telling them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
More so of a counselor or an advisor. Did that happen? Do you remember that transition?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm still there now because they're adults and they can choose to do what they want to do with their body, their life, who they want to spend their life with, the relationships that they want to go into, and all the choices. I mean, we don't I'm not that parent that infringes and imposes. I
Mhm.
welcome the opportunities, and when I'm invited, I certainly come in, and even when I don't, I will let them know my opinion about certain things.
Right.
Some of the kids do work for us, so even more so, I'm advising them from a different standpoint, just as an employee and someone who can become a leader and manager and director and things like that. So I think you are shifting over to a different role once your kids become older because you have to respect the choices that they make, and you just pray that they make good choices, and
Right.
pray for them to make good choices.
And the word does say you train up a child in the way he should go. So it does start as young as you possibly can to get them
Mhm.
trained up.
Thanks, babe. We're
Your
bringing it.
charger. Did
Yeah,
he bring you your charger and he's hiding?
he is making sure we're got all this connection going here. We got plugs running everywhere.
Okay. Um, Ken and I joined the ministry back in 1990. We're in Savannah now. We moved to Savannah in 1997. When we joined, it was 1,500 people. And you had 4 services at 6 a.m., 7:30 a.m., 10 a.m., and 12:30 a.m. You remember those 4 services?
I do. Our children were small,
Right.
and so I wasn't at all of them. I think we're out of plugs, huh? I see something on my shoulder. But yeah, 6 a.m. and I was surprised, people were there, and we did 5 services. Was it 3 years?
I don't know how many years it was. It was a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time.
You know, it was 4 services. It was 4 services every Sunday. Um, and
I want to say 5, 6, seven
5,
thirty, 10.
6, 7:30, 10, and 12:30, I thought.
Okay. Yeah, it was a lot.
4 or 5. It was a lot. It was. And then the dome was built, I believe, in 1995,
Mm-hmm.
around there. And then you went to 2 services. And I remember seeing you minister, and that's the question that I'm getting to. Were you nervous when you first started ministering in the chapel, in the smaller church, before you moved over to the dome? Were you nervous during your first initial services?
I
And
was.
how did you get over that nervousness?
Um, let's see. I got over, I see this thing on my shoulder. Can you see that, Denise?
A little bit.
It's not bad.
No.
Uh-oh.
Right
Okay.
there.
I was just in a place where I was pretty timid. Um, even when we moved into the dome. So we started in, I want to say 86, if my memory serves me correctly. We moved into the dome in 95. So,
Mhm.
that's roughly like 9 years. And I was a young mom, pastor's wife, um, had just left working from Federal Express, just trying to figure all this stuff out, this
Right.
large church, all these people who were coming that I had never envisioned that they would come. And it was the most mind blowing thing. So I think there was a period where I was just stunned by what was taking place and just the growth of our church during that time. And Gruffalo was traveling a lot too. He was very busy during the week. So even though we had the 4 sessions on Sunday from morning to afternoon, we were also, um, in a lot of instances, having crusades, conventions, and things like that during the week when our kids were small. So I had some help with Thelma and Sherelle would help me with the girls when they were small. But for the most part, I mean, it was a lot. It really, really was just trying to sort through what was really going on.
Mhm. So during those times, did you feel like you didn't know how you were going to make it? You feel like
Well,
you didn't know if you were going to make it?
well, I had a lot of help between my mom and Creflo's mom, his sisters. They were very supportive of helping me with the girls so that I could be with him. I could be at church and be a part of all the things that I wanted to do. We were trying to grow our women's ministry. We were one of the fastest growing churches at the time in the nation. So it was just a lot going on. And he was, you know, probably speaking 2 or 3 times a week on the road, as well as home for Bible study. So it was just a lot going on. But yeah, I did have a lot of concerns of my role and my responsibility because there were things that I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
Yeah, I liked women's ministry, and so I did that. But there were really limited times where I would speak, and it wasn't something that I really enjoyed doing. In fact, I would tell my mom, I think, Mom, somebody else really would like doing this, so maybe they should do it. She's like, No, Gruffalo wants you to do it, so just do it. And you know how to do it, just get up there and do it. And so that's what I would do. I'd make myself do it, but I didn't enjoy it as much. I enjoyed the women's ministry,
Mm.
but not so much the weekend and the general services for everybody. I don't know. It's something I have to get rid of in my mind that it's like, okay.
That's the next question I was going to ask you. How would you encourage someone who's new to ministry, a pastor's wife who's just getting started in this, trying
Thanks, babe.
to find herself, or what would you say to encourage her?
I would say make yourself vulnerable to the grace of God on your life and pay attention to that. What is it that you get excited about doing? Everybody doesn't have to be in the pulpit. Everyone doesn't have to have a microphone in their hand, doesn't have to play the piano, doesn't have to be in front of people to communicate, to talk. And some things develop over time.
Mhm.
Dr. Betty was my mentor, get a mentor, and you can learn so much from studying people's lives, reading their books. I would go to her conferences, I would read her books, I would watch her on television and just see the example publicly that she and Apostle Price lived before all of us. And so I just was able to glean and learn so much from her. And so if there are people who you connect with and who speak to you spiritually, then perhaps you can have an opportunity to learn more about how they got to where they've gotten, and I think that that helps a lot, and that'll really shed a lot of light on different things.
That's good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the evolution of your women's ministry.
Hmm.
Said that you really enjoyed the women's ministry. Do you remember the first women's conference that you had?
I did. It was
Mhm.
Dinah Cherry and Gloria Copeland. It was in the chapel, and Dara Bernard led praise and worship. Um, and I was so excited, had so much fun. Back at some of the footage and the videos from back in the day, and the hairstyles and the outfits and what we were doing. And I was like, man, this is something else.
It really was. I can say, I think, you remember what year that was?
Um, Cynthia Walker and I were talking about it the last time. I want to say, ooh, was it 89 or 92?
Somewhere along in there.
Yeah, it was late 80s or super early 90s.
Wow. Early 90s. And now we're at the 2020 Radical Women Ministry.
Yeah, 26 years or so.
That is fantastic. Now, you planned the March 2020 conference, and then the pandemic hit, the women's conference. The pandemic hit.
It did. Corona
And
showed up and showed out.
and you had women registered from all over the world.
We did. I know. I wanted to see you, my sister friend, my sister
Yes.
daughter friend.
Yes. And so what happened? What we know the pandemic hit, but something happened and you had to make a decision. The decision was to go on with it or to
Right. I mean, things were happening so fast. I mean, Denise, you in education, so I mean, it was like the schools all of a sudden just shut down out of nowhere. I think it might have been like a week's notice. I think you guys maybe have a little bit
spring break. It was about maybe a week's notice.
Mm-hmm. And so it was all kind of around the same time when they were talking about, the virus was coming and go get your kids from college and schools were closing and um, schools bans were being placed. Mayors were making announcements, executive orders were going out. And so we were just trying to listen and understand because there was a lot of things you just couldn't comprehend. It was so foreign.
And from day to day, you wake up in the morning and it was always something new.
Something new.
It was
every day.
different.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going to happen tomorrow?
Mhm.
Know what was going to happen tomorrow, and it appeared to me as if decisions were being made off the fly.
Mhm.
You know, they were doing the best that they could at that particular time, and so there you are, registered. All these women registered, all these plans to come in, and so your team got together and decided to do it virtually.
Right. Well, fortunately, I have an amazing team. They are just God's gift to me. They're strong, they're smart, they're agile, and I'm so thankful because you have to have agility in the midst of a crisis
Right.
where you can pivot and you can move quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
so, fortunately, we already had the on demand feature of the conference. And so, we'd already tested it. It was already being marketed in our international offices
Oh,
in
that's awesome.
Australia, South Africa, Birmingham, England, all these places. So they already knew about it. It was being promoted overseas, but domestically, we hadn't released that component or started advertising that
Wow.
component. And so I was just praying and praying and praying. And then I remember that Monday morning, Gruffalo had gone to get one of his holistic treatments, and he called me and he said, "I just got off a phone call with the mayor of South Fulton, and they've placed a ban on churches." And
Right.
they specifically said that the women's conference needs to be canceled. So even our city government knew about our event that was about to take place. I was like, wow, well, thank God for the notoriety, but Lord, we cannot cancel. I said, well, okay, I know I need to have a meeting. And we all just kind of ran up to the office and we all got in the conference room and we just started talking about the different options. I said, what are the options? They threw them all on the table. We can cancel now. We can postpone until the fall. We can, they were just throwing all these different things at me. And I said, I really think that we should just go virtual. And they said, the whole thing? So, yeah, the whole thing virtual. We're not going to cancel because I feel like it's really needed and women need to be encouraged. And we just believe that we had, we looked into the technical platform that was in place. We looked at the pros and cons because there were a couple of them that we use for our services and things. So we did some research there to make sure that we had the bandwidth to be able to accommodate all of the people who had registered and the attendees. Unfortunately, we did. And
Right.
so God was with us.
That's excellent. Yes, I was there. I was one of your attendees on demand. It was a really good conference, and some of the speakers, they even flew in.
They did. I will never forget that. Of course, some of them were local. She lives here in Atlanta, and Jewel has a place here in Atlanta, so she was able to come over and doesn't live far. But I'm eternally indebted to Dr. Dee Freeman from flying in the midst of a pandemic all the way from Maryland to Atlanta with everything
Right.
that was shut down, risking her life. And immediately she texted me and she said, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, and I didn't think that she would want to come, and she just said that she would. I must have asked her. I don't know how that all transpired. She said, "Do you want me to come?" And I just was flabbergasted that she would even ask and consider that to be an option. So
That was
we had
awesome.
people who were canceling, and rightfully so, because people just didn't feel safe traveling. Um, and there were workshop speakers who even came from out
Wow,
of state up north and wanted to be on the panels and wanted to be a part of it. So I'm
that's awesome.
thankful. We had a powerful testimony just of a young lady who talked about coming out of homosexuality, lesbianism, and it was really, really good.
It really was. So we only have a few more minutes left, and I just have a couple of more questions um, for you. I remember earlier you said you don't watch much TV, but you read a lot of books. Is that right?
I read a lot of books. I'm reading now on building a virtual team. And
Okay.
so that's kind of what I'm studying, how to determine the scope of my team. And so I have 4 books on my desk that I'm going to try and read perhaps before the week is out. Um, and that's my goal.
And not only do you read, but you've written several books, and you have a website that has a lot of your merchandise, and I'm sure your books are on your website. Can you give us a list of a couple of them?
Yeah, well, I have one that I'm working on now that I haven't released yet. It's on gender equality in the workplace. And so I just figured that it'd be best to release that once everybody's just kind of back and not
Right.
working remotely. I think right now the timing is not conducive for it, but so I do have an ebook that I'm super excited about. It's called Gender Divide.
Okay.
Um, so that'll be released soon. And that's what I'm working on. Working on some television shows, some films, things like
Wow.
that. Some powerful stories that I've had opportunity to run across that will make really good movies, good stories to tell.
Well, if you need an extra, just sitting in the background, sitting at the table, I'm sure there's some ladies out there willing, willing and able and ready to be some extras and maybe some stars as well.
No screaming the lines. I have to, I think after one line, I may have to compensate you.
You're right. Now you can't say anything. You can't open your mouth. You can't speak one word. You're just an extra. You're just there in the background, look like a fly on the wall. Just sitting there. Watch the movie, documentary, and say, "Oh, look, there I am right there." Last question. What's next for Pastor Taffi Dollar? What do you see next? Future.
Yeah, I want to do executive producing. I definitely want to continue to develop more ways to tell stories on the importance of gender equality, racial equality, biblical equality. That story, it needs to be told. And it's something that is long overdue, and perhaps we can continue to tell it different ways. It was interesting. In one of my, I guess, devotional times, I would say, I was thinking about how Mary must have told Joseph that she was pregnant with Jesus. I was thinking about how awkward that conversation might have been. Someone who she is engaged to be with for the rest of her life, who's chosen to breed, the Bible says they were engaged. A spouse, I think, is the King James version of it, but just retelling stories in the Bible, from the Bible, and making it modern times, even with children's books and children's teachings and things on equality as well, biblical equality, so they can understand gender roles and the impact that it has even on them. So maybe we can change their mindset and change their perspective.
Well, I just want to say that I'm looking forward to all of that. Excited about it. I know it's going to be awesome. You are a phenomenal woman of God. I love you dearly. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a privilege to be up close and personal with you. I love you and I appreciate you for sharing this time. And I do want to tell you this little secret. Well, it's not a secret, but the moment when I asked you, I said, we were talking about what we were doing in our downtime, and you were saying about doing a lot of things virtually, and I said, oh, okay, well, why don't we do a Facebook Live together since we're doing everything virtually nowadays? And you said, sure, okay, and I went, what? Okay, I just said it. And then when you said yes, I said, okay, well, we're going to make this happen. We are going to make this happen. And I just want to thank you.
You are more than welcome. Thank you for having me. It was a joy to be able to connect, to see you, and look forward to us going to Paris again once this virus gets behind us, right?
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Oh, we're going to hold you to that.
Have a croissant.
Yes,
Probably
yes.
not pronouncing it the most proper way.
That would be wonderful. Looking forward to it. So, ladies and gentlemen, all of you that tuned in, I want to thank you so much for viewing with us tonight. And God bless you, and we love you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I do want to say one last thing. I do have some more surprise guests coming up. I'm not going to tell you who they are. You just have to tune in and see. But I'm really, really excited. So, Pastor Taffi, thank you so very much again. Tell Pastor Dollar we love him and God bless him. And I appreciate it.
Denise, thanks for having me. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.